me the president's head was practically blown off.
Now, we tell the story of that terrible event, minute by minute, from the unique perspective of three of those at the center of it all. Roy Kellerman, the Secret Service agent in charge.
This is a massive failing by the intelligence services.
In San Antonio, greeting the huge crowds mean Jackie and her husband are already behind schedule. As they begin their journey to Brooks Air Force Base, they travel in open-top cars so they can be seen by as many people as possible. Keeping a close watch over them is their 9-man Secret Service detail.
The Secret Service main objective is definitely to protect the president. They're not there to investigate, they're not there to necessarily go after an assassin or assassins or to foil a plot. Their whole raison d'etre is to cover and evacuate the president.
Head of security for the trip is veteran agent Roy Kellerman. This is his first time in charge.
He came from Detroit, Michigan, and he rose quickly through the ranks. He had a funny nickname, they called him Gabby. The reason why I called him Gabby was the exact opposite. He was very soft-spoken and didn't speak much.
Kellerman and his team will need to be at the top of their game. Texas is a hotbed of right-wing racism. Jackie Kennedy and her husband are beginning their 3-day tour of Texas. Well known for being a hotspot of right-wing racism, it's considered a very dangerous place for the Kennedys to visit. But in June, Kennedy had delivered a speech supporting the civil rights movement.
The fires of frustration and discord are burning in every city.
His words divide America.
North and South.
By giving his famous June '63 speech, he really fanned the flames in the right wing, the kind of people that President Kennedy himself said, well, we're heading to nut country now.
At 2:40 p.m., Jackie and the president arrive at Brooks Air Force Base for a major speech.
We do stand on the edge of a great new era.
Jackie watches her husband wow the 9,000-strong crowd.
In every phase of human endeavor, it is a time for pathfinders and pioneers.
It's the first time Jackie has been seen in public for 4 months. In August, while heavily pregnant, she had been rushed to hospital.
Mrs. Jacqueline Kennedy bears a premature son who has been baptized Patrick Bouvier.
Born 5 weeks premature, baby Patrick lived for just 39 hours. Jackie's presence means bigger crowds, something that delights her husband, but worries Secret Service agent Roy Kellerman.
Kennedy walked among the crowd, shaking hands, generally creating a nightmare for the Secret Service men who found themselves concerned about their inability to protect him.
Kellerman and his agents are doing their best to create an envelope of security around Jackie and the president. Working as a team, they know exactly what to look for.
You're looking for something out of place. You're looking for an angry face, somebody with their hands in their pockets. They'll tell them in a nice way, please remove your hands from your pockets. This is the stressful part of their job. This is what they signed up for. They knew that when they made the White House detail, they were the elite of the elite.
Kellerman and his team are about to be tested like never before. It's the end of a long first day for Secret Service agent Roy Kellerman. With his charges secure in Suite 850 of the Hotel Texas, he clocks off. But as Kellerman heads to bed, many of his agents head to the bar.
9 agents drank the night before the assassination. That's grounds for removal from the agency.
November 22nd, 1963. Secret Service agent Roy Kellerman is anxious to know if they will need a bubble top for the Dallas motorcade. Although not bulletproof, the clear plexiglass creates a physical barrier between the president and the people. Today, the debate still rages about Kennedy's attitude towards the bubble top.
If they only would have left the front and rear pieces on and even had that open piece in the middle, that would have been a security function. It's a psychological deterrent because so many people wrongly assumed it was bulletproof when an assassin or assassins even try with it on.
It's taken just 13 minutes in Air Force One to fly from Fort Worth to Dallas.
Friday morning, the president's jet lands at the Dallas airport, Love Field.
Once again, it's Jackie who walks off the plane first to an enthusiastic reception.
The usual welcoming committee presents Mrs. Kennedy with a bouquet of red roses.
If you listen to the narration that morning on WFAA ABC, they say, wow, the president, this is amazing. Instead of getting into the president's limousine, he's heading towards the crowd.
Secret Service boss Roy Kellerman may be getting used to this scene, but he's not letting his guard down.
You can see Roy Kellerman, everybody, he's looking to see that the various local police and local agents are in place. He's looking to see that rope line is there. He's looking to see everything appears to be normal.
Six. $11:50 a.m. at Love Field Airport, Dallas. Jackie sits next to her husband in the back of the open-top limousine. Up front, Secret Service boss Roy Kellerman gives the code word for the presidential couple, Lancer and Lace departing.
Friday, 10 minutes before noon. The motorcade begins the 11-mile ride to the Dallas Trade Mart, where the president is to deliver a major address.
The motorcade stretches for half a mile.
You had the presidential limousine. You had the Secret Service fob car. You had the mayor's car. Then you had the vice president car, and you had the Secret Service fob car for him, other various dignitary cars, local congressmen, senators, you had the press and so on.
Humiliated by the October attack on UN Ambassador Adlai Stevenson, the City of Dallas police have deployed over 700 men, but unusually, none are guarding Dallas's many high-rise rooftops.
The major trip before in Florida, in Tampa, 28 miles, almost 3 times the length of Dallas. They had multi-story building rooftops guarded with all the sheriff's department, with heavy arms. In fact, I spoke to the lead motorcycle officer in Tampa. He told me, oh, every multi-story building at 28 miles had armed men, and they would have shot anybody untoward during that motorcade.
Got a pretty good crowd of people down here on Turtle Creek. It's down to 2 lanes of traffic.
He spotted a sign asking the president to stop and shake hands. In a moment, the president's car is surrounded by screaming children.
You can see from the photos, they got all around the limousine there as it stood still. The agents, to their credit, would have formed around the car and been looking at those hands as if they were at the airport again and looking for any untoward motions, taking people to get their hands out of their pockets.
Simmons Freeway on both sides is pretty well crowded from Continental. Have to go at real slow speed now.
Nearly 5,000 miles away, in the offices of a small local newspaper in Cambridge, England, an anonymous caller tells a reporter to call the US Embassy for some big news. 12:21 p.m.
1223.
Halfway down Main Street, FBI Special Agent James Hosty watches the motorcade pass by. He's shocked at how exposed the President and First Lady are. All the Secret Service agents are in the car behind.
When you realize the building rooftops weren't guarded, there's people hanging all out of windows, you realize they weren't on the back of the car in a concentrated fashion. And there wasn't more motorcycles bracketing the car, and even the use of the bubble top. It makes you realize how much Kennedy was a sitting duck.
10-4-1. Is there a pretty good crowd there? Big crowd, yes.
As the motorcade progresses through downtown Dallas, Jackie is feeling the heat. Exposed in the open-top car, she's not as comfortable as her husband with frenzied crowds.
The motorcade turns off Main Street and enters Dealey Plaza. And they make a short right-hand turn onto Houston Street.
In the presidential car, Jackie hears Governor Connolly's wife say to the president, "You certainly can't say that the people of Dallas haven't given you a nice welcome."
And the president says, "No, you sure can't." Then they make the really tight jog onto Elm Street. Now, this was all a violation of Secret Service protocol and common sense. You're never supposed to take the president in a situation where you're slowing the car down like that.
The president's car is now turning onto Elm Street, and it will be only a matter of minutes before he arrives at the trademark. I was on Simmons Freeway earlier, and even the freeway was jam-packed with spectators waiting their chance to see the president.
The first shot rings out. The vast majority of Dealey Plaza witnesses thought it was a firecracker or even a motorcycle backfire.
The moment of the first shot is one of chaos and confusion.
Secret Service agent Kellerman jolts his head to the right, where he thinks the shot has come from.
Stand by, please. Something has happened in the motorcade route. Several police officers are rushing up the hill. Something, I repeat, has happened in the motorcade route.
Secret Service agent Kellerman screams into his radio.
Lawson, this is Kellerman, we've been hit. Wynn Lawson was the agent in the lead car in front of them. We've been hit. Get us to the hospital immediately.
Stand by. 10-4 Parkland has been notified, 1232.
Jackie Kennedy tries to get out of the limousine, her pink suit covered in her husband's blood.
It is difficult to watch the First Lady's response of her trying to clamber over the back of the limousine.
She's in shock, she's disorientated.
There's a Secret Service man spread eagle over the top of the car.
As an eyewitness, even many decades later, it's still a moment that's actually really difficult to take in.
As her husband's lifeless body slumps into her lap, Jackie screams, "My God, they have shot his head off." She will tell the investigation later, "I could see a piece of his skull, and I remember it was flesh-colored. I remember thinking he just looked as if he had a slight headache. Then I just remember falling on him and saying, 'Oh no, no, no.'"
This is a massive failing by the intelligence services. They have been seen to fail by the entire world.
The blood, the screams, the fear, the murder of a US president.
President Kennedy has been killed in broad daylight in front of hundreds of witnesses. Yet today, exactly what happened is still furiously debated.
There are many conspiracy theorists who are convinced that there were multiple shooters in Dealey Plaza. And perhaps most famously, the conspiracy theorist Oliver Stone put out a film that suggested there were many, many shooters.
Key to it all is exactly how many shots were fired at the president. Secret Serviceman Roy Kellerman believes he hears a flurry of shells coming into the car. Later, the official version will say 3. The magic bullet theory is the most controversial element of the official investigation. It relies on Oswald's second shot, inflicting multiple wounds on both Kennedy and Governor Connolly. Dr. Cyril Wecht is a longtime critic.
No matter who the shooter might be, if you don't have a single bullet theory, you cannot have a sole assassin. It is that basic, it is that absolutely unequivocal.
We can dispute whether this was an act of one individual or an elaborate conspiracy.
I repeat, Parkland Hospital has been advised to stand by for a severe gunshot wound.
5 minutes after the shooting, Jackie cradles her dying husband.
Attention all emergency equipment, attention all emergency equipment. Keep all traffic onto the emergency entrance to Parkland Hospital.
As the presidential limousine races at 80 miles per hour, she whispers, "He's dead. They've killed him." As the motorcade screeches to a halt, Agent Kellerman helps lift the president out of the car.
He said JFK's eyes were opened and it looked like all signs of life were gone, although technically he did have a heartbeat and technically he lived for another 20 to 30 minutes. But for all intents and purposes, he was DOA.
You know the extent of the injury. Say the president's head was practically gone off.
7 minutes ago, Jackie and her husband were smiling and waving at the crowd. Now she follows his lifeless body into the operating room.
President's wife, Jackie Kennedy, was not hurt. She walked into the hospital, had her husband stretcher side.
(1 p.m., November the 22nd, 1963. The city of Dallas is in shock. President Kennedy has just been shot. Just 30 minutes ago, Jackie and her husband had been smiling and waving at the crowd. Now she waits outside the emergency room at Parkland Hospital. But JFK, the 35th President of the United States, is gone. A doctor tells her, "We will not pronounce him dead until he has had the last rites." Kissing his body, Jackie begins to cry.
Just a moment, we have a bulletin coming in. We now switch you directly to Parkland Hospital and KBOX News Director Bill Hampton.
As Oswald surrenders, he says, "Well, it's over now."
The interesting thing about Oswald is he's always assumed to be guilty, and yet he was never tried, never brought before court, and never sentenced.
Within hours, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover will tell the world they have caught Kennedy's killer.
There's no way in the world that he could have determined that. He could have believed it, but until you check every possible contact that Oswald had, 2.5 years in Russia, and then the contacts he had in America, how can you possibly know that? But he's already announcing to the world, they're locked in.
Now a newly released memo reveals an astonishing fact. Hoover was determined to prove Oswald's guilt, no matter what. The thing I am concerned about is having something issued so we can convince the public that Oswald is the real assassin.
J. Edgar Hoover had something really important to hide, which was that the FBI knew a lot about Lee Harvey Oswald before the assassination, should have known that he was a real threat to President Kennedy, but failed to notify anybody about this, specifically not to notify the Secret Service that President Kennedy was going to Dallas, where Oswald lived.
One conspiracy theory states Hoover was part of a much larger cover-up, which believes Kennedy was killed by members of his own military and intelligence services, who feared the president was soft on communism and was going to warm up the Cold War with Russia.
This wasn't going to be good for America. To tell Americans that the government had been overthrown by the killing of the president, that it was coup d'etat in America.
Just after 2 p.m., Jackie climbs into a hearse with the body of her husband. Roy Kellerman and the Secret Service have ignored the Texas officials. They are all leaving for Washington. Helen O'Donnell's father helps carry the coffin.
My father said that they didn't want the president's body to be removed because they figured they're going to get the blame, so they want to make sure it's all done right. But my father was like, the hell with this.
Soon, the president's autopsy will reveal some extraordinary results. Friday, November the 22nd, 1963. Just over 2 hours ago, Jackie Kennedy and her husband were welcomed at Love Field by cheering, smiling crowds.
Mrs. Kennedy joins him in the throng of outstretched hands and cameras.
Now, the crowds are gone.
How can it be that you see someone so vibrant just over an hour ago, and now their life has ended? How did this happen, and who is to blame?
Jackie watches as Secret Serviceman Roy Kellerman and his agents struggle to load her husband's body onto Air Force One. The coffin is too wide for the aircraft door. Kellerman and his team pull off the side handles.
The juxtaposition between those earlier images and then these darkly comic images of the Secret Service trying to load his casket. It really is a kind of a visceral power.
Finally, Jackie follows her husband back onto Air Force One.
They were all devastated, and none of them recovered, including my father. They felt responsible, and all that majesty was just destroyed in one shot, and that's sad.
As Jackie goes into deep shock, Helen O'Donnell's father becomes increasingly concerned.
He said he really thought at one point Jackie was going to have a heart attack. And he said, I just thought, I've got to get her out of here. He said, this is my last job for Jack Kennedy, who's my president but my friend. And my job is to get his body home to Washington and to get his wife home to Bobby.
While Jackie rests in the presidential suite, Roy Kellerman finds the atmosphere on Air Force One tense as the vice president's security team take charge. As Air Force One touches down at Andrews Air Force Base, Washington, millions tune in live to see Jackie Kennedy follow her husband's coffin into a hearse. She is still wearing her blood-stained pink suit.
The widow, on the arm of her brother-in-law, remains a towering figure of fortitude through her long ordeal.
Jackie accompanies her husband's body as it's taken to a military hospital. 7:30 p.m. President Kennedy's autopsy begins. Jackie has requested it is done at Bethesda Naval Hospital, as Jack had been a naval man. But today, others question the real reason for taking his body to a military hospital.
It was basically a national security move to a military hospital where more agreeable people could look over the body and could be twisted under military orders.
They wanted to have the autopsy done under military control. There were 33 people in the autopsy room that night, including 4-star admirals and generals. These guys were told what to do, and no question about it.
Secret Serviceman Roy Kellerman is also in the autopsy room. He helps the pathologists identify the president's wounds.
When the doctors were working on the body, he made a crucial observation. He noticed the back of the president's head was gone, which is critical if you believe there's a conspiracy, because again, entrance wounds are small, exit wounds are large.
The autopsy reveals Kennedy was struck by 2 shots from the rear. Vital information that will lead investigators to conclude Oswald was the lone gunman. But for many, this evidence didn't add up. The Dallas doctors had said they saw a large exit wound in the back of the president's head. indicating a shot from the front, and therefore more than one shooter.
The autopsy is essential in providing an authoritative account of the causes of the president's death, but it did not do that. There's a lack of agreement about whether they are looking at a shot that has entered the president's body from the front or the back, and that immediately raises the issue about whether or not there are one or two gunmen.
For decades, veteran pathologist Dr. Cyril Wecht has believed the autopsy findings are wrong. He's convinced the president was shot from both the rear and the front.
It's infuriating every time I talk about it, and today I'm talking about it maybe for the 10,000th time. It just infuriates me. The passion just automatically flows. I don't have to press any buttons or pretend that I'm angry.
Suspicion has also been cast on some of those closest to the president, in particular Secret Serviceman Roy Kellerman and his team of agents.
They definitely felt like they failed in their mission. They had one job to do, the number one most important job. The life of the president was taken.
Although he never spoke about the assassination, Kellerman hinted he thought there was more to the story than just Lee Harvey Oswald.
I spoke to his widow, her name was June, and she said that Roy accepted that there was a conspiracy. In fact, when he spoke to the House Select Committee, he says, I'll accept that. It's like, wait, so Roy accepted there was a conspiracy? Yes, he believed there was a conspiracy, but she never got any details from him, nothing.
In recent years, millions of pages of new information have been released. Today, there is overwhelming evidence that the US intelligence services knew more than they said about Lee Harvey Oswald.